Hey guys, welcome to another AWS video. This is the part 2 of AWS Mobile Hub series. In part 1, we used AWS Mobile Hub to host a web application in S3 bucket and to serve it through a CloudFront distribution. Why did we use Mobile Hub? Because by a couple of clicks, you can simply set it up. This is my Mobile Hub dashboard, and this is my Mobile Hub project. Now here are the features we enabled last time. Let me click hosting and streaming. You can view your web application directly from S3 or through CloudFront. If you click CloudFront, it will open the CloudFront domain name. This is our application. Now I have done one thing off camera. I've linked this particular CloudFront distribution domain name into a custom domain. This is my custom domain, app.awsvideos.com. Now if you don't know how to do this, please watch my first video. I will post the link up here. Today we are going to add authentication and authorization into our application. Authentication is about logging into the application. Now once the user logged into the application, what can he do or what are the permissions that he has is about authorization. We'll be using a service called AWS Cognito, and this is their product page. And it says simple and secure user sign up, sign in, and access control. These are the features that Cognito provides. It provides a secure and scalable user directory. So no matter how many users you have, it could be 10,000 or 100 million users. It is highly scalable in user management. And it also provides social logins, like you can link Google, Amazon, or Facebook accounts for users to have single sign-on experience. Not only that, but also you can link your corporate directories as well, such as Active Directory. And it supports OAuth2, SAML2, and OpenID Connect protocol. And we'll look at OAuth2 protocol in a bit. And it's highly compliant with a lot of compliances. Once the user logged in, you can provide him fine-grained access controls. We'll see that. One great feature is that they provide out-of-the-box templates like login, sign up, forget password. So let's go back to our presentation, and this is the Cognito. Cognito basically has two parts: Cognito User Pool and Cognito Federated Identities. Cognito User Pool is for authentication. You can register your users in a user pool, and you can create groups if you want. For example, you can create admins in an admin group. You can create users in a user group. And once you created those two groups, you can provide different permissions by using IAM roles. This is exactly what we show in this slide. Let's say you create admin group. You will assign an admin role to that. User group, a user role. In admin role, you allow admins to create users. But in the user role, you will deny users to create users in your application. That can be specified as IAM policies. So once you have defined your roles and attached those particular policies, allow and deny policies, you can register users under these roles. Now creating role groups is not essential, but you can do that. So let's add Cognito into our picture. Like I mentioned, it supports authentication and authorization. So let's go step by step to understand it clear. First, user logged into the application by typing in the username and password. Then Cognito verifies that. If it is correct, it will send the response some tokens. We call JWT tokens. Now this is a part of OAuth2 protocol. This is called indirect claim. So it provides these ID token, access token, and refresh token. Now these are temporary credentials where the user will save it in their browser. And once those credentials are saved, authentication process is done. So he will be logged into the application. Now let's think about authorization. So once the user is logged in, what can he do? How can he access this authenticated endpoint? So in order to check that, he need to acquire some credential by trading these tokens. So that's the third part, getting his credentials. So he will send his JW tokens to the Cognito again. Cognito behind the scene, it will use Cognito federated identities. It will it will send that credentials or tokens, and it will use a service called STS or simple token service. Now this is the simple token service documentation. It says simple token service is a web service that enables you to request temporary and limited privileges for AWS IAM users. Yeah? So it basically you can ask for temporary credential, IAM credential for that logged in user. So what STS returns is access ID and secret access ID. So it will send access key and secret access key back to the users. Now these are temporary credential. So this temporary credential again the user can use to access the backend resources. So once the temporary credentials are received, he will sign those with the request that he made out to the backend. Here we have API gateway backend. So once the API gateway receives this signed request, it will grab the role out of that, because if you can remember, these users are added to a role. So it will grab that particular role. In this case, let's say this admin user. So it will grab the admin role and it will dive into the IAM policies attached to that. So if you remember, for the admin, we allow user creation. So it will check whether the user can access user creation Lambda endpoint, for example. And since he's able to access it, he will invoke that particular Lambda. If there is a user logged into the application or an admin, then he's not able to access that policy, so that request will be denied. So that's how the authorization process happens. If that's admin, yes, he can invoke this Lambda. The Lambda can go back to the dashboard and create the users. So this is the process. And today we are going to look at the user sign-in part. So this login part and receiving the credential and saving it in our browser. In the next video, we'll look at the authorization part. Now let's get into our Visual Studio Code and add this user sign-in functionality. Now as for the first step, let's create two components, ngGC auth. Now, this component is to have our authentication or the login screens. So auth component is created, this one. And let's add another component. Clear out the screen, ngGC, we call it home. So once the user is successfully authenticated, this is the component that he will be redirected to. So I created the auth and home components. Since we have enabled routing, so we have this particular routing module. So let's add those two routes as well. So in the routes array, I will add a path if it is empty. Let's link it to auth component. Now in Visual Studio, whenever you type in the component that you just added, it will be imported directly. Let's add the other component as well if the path is matching a home, go to the component of home component, right? Let's set the default route as well if the path is matching anything other than those defined routes redirected to our login component. Okay, now that we have added it, so let's test it. Open up the console and type AWS mobile run. Oh, I think I misspelled it. AWS mobile run. Okay, you see, it says Auth works. Now I want to remove all this other information. So let's get back to Visual Studio Code, and in the app component, and this is all what it shows. So I will keep only the route outlet and remove everything else. So let it reload it. Yeah, now it says Auth works. And if we type home, home works. Okay, great. Now that our routes are working, let's type anything else. We should redirect back to the authentication. Yeah. Okay, now that our routes are working, let's enable user sign in from AWS Mobile App. By the way, I have created a GitHub repo in this particular URL, so you can copy any code if you want. Now I am in the AWS Mobile Hub console. I'm going to activate another feature, user sign in. Click add. Then it will ask what sign in providers do you need? Email and password, of course. I don't want to add this yet. So I will create a new user pool. I will allow my users to log in with their username. I will disable the multi-factor authentication. Let me just reduce the minimum length of password, and I will have only lowercase and numbers. Of course, you should not do this in production application. And it asks, do you need all the users to sign in before they access AWS resources? But I will keep it no for one moment because I want to have access to a certain AWS resources for unauthenticated users as well in upcoming videos. Then I'll create the user pool. So when you create the user pool behind the scene, it will go into the Cognito and create a user pool in Cognito. We can see that, but for now, let's go back to integrate here and let's pull the latest changes from AWS Mobile Hub. Going back to my Visual Studio Code, stop the server, clear out the screen, and copy paste AWS Mobile pull. So this will pull down all the new changes, all the changes about our user pool and all. While it is pulling down the changes, go to my app and user sign in. Settings section, you will see the action drop down. You can click edit in Cognito. This will open up the Cognito. So this is the user pool that it provisioned. You can see this is the users and groups. You can create groups as we mentioned in the slides. You can add users. Okay. I think it finished syncing up the changes. So you know from the last video, it sync up changes to AWS export.js. So see, we have user pool related information. Now that we have linked our backend, we need a way to communicate to that particular user pool from our client. So in order to do that, AWS has released a library called AWS Amplify. This is a front-end library, and It supports a lot of front-end frameworks, Angular, React, React Native, Vue.js. Today we are going to look at Angular front-end library. So it provides Angular components in order to talk to our backend services. When we connect with Mobile Hub and when we sync those changes, it automatically installed AWS Amplify and AWS Amplify Angular by looking at our project. So as for the first step, it says, okay, you need to add these two scripts into your package.json file. Let me copy these two commands and let's get back to our code. Go into the package.json, and at the moment these start and build scripts are about ng-serve and ng-build. If you know, and if you already know that we have this AWS export.js file that sync all the changes from Mobile Hub. But when we are referring this file inside application, we have to use a TS extension or TypeScript extension. So we always need to create a duplicate file and rename it as TS and then only use that inside the application. Since this is a tedious process, we will automate it. So that's what they have given it. So let's see. Let me remove my old start and build command. So the new one says go to aws-export.js and move it to aws-export.ts and then only serve it. Even in the build process as well, convert it to a TS file and then run ng-build --prod. Now I'm going to remove this --prod because it has given me some error, minification error. So until they fix it, let's remove it. All right. So how can we add or how can we bootstrap Amplify library? So let's go back to our guide. So it's very simple. We are going to add these actually three lines of code into our main.ts file. Then we go into Visual Studio Code again, go to app, no, the main.ts file, and you can simply paste it in. I pasted it in already. Okay. So with this, it will bootstrap Amplify library. So what can we do next? Then it says, okay, add this node type into a compile option. So that compile option is at tsconfig.app.js. So let me control or command P and type tsconfig app.json and make sure the type is added as node. Just exactly follow this step. And then we don't need this one. Right. So that's all we need in terms of configuration. Now it's about using it. First, we need to add the Amplify module and Amplify service in our app.module.ts. So let's go to apps.module.ts and let's add these two libraries, Amplify module and Amplify service, exactly these two services. And once you have added it, make sure you will add it to the corresponding import blocks. Put the Amplify Angular module in the imports, Amplify service in the as a provider. Okay. Please refer GitHub if you get stuck. Okay. Now that we have added to our module, we can use it inside our components. AWS Amplify further make our life easy by introducing something called view components. Now, view components are pre-baked components or directives. For example, we have authenticator component. We just have to add this directive into our auth component and it will provide authentication login right out of the box. So I will copy that command and go to auth component, and inside the auth.html, let me remove this and paste it in the Amplify authenticated directory. Make sure you have added this Amplify Angular module and add it as an import, otherwise this won't work. So yeah, this should work. So let's try to run our application again. AWS mobile run. I will fast forward it. Okay guys, now it's loaded up. If you can remember, our default route is auth component. So you see it has this very pale looking UI. So let's add some styles and make it interesting. So I will go into my GitHub and copy CSS file, copied it, and I will go into this. Let me go to style.css and I will just paste it in. Please copy that, or if you want, you can add your custom styles. So when it reloads, see now it looks a little better, right? Okay, so this is coming right out of that Amplify library. Very nice. Now we wanted to do one other thing. If you go to source and let me search for index.html by pressing Command C. And actually, I forgot one step in the guide. In the guide, it says if you are using Angular 6, make sure to add this particular script that is mentioned in the Angular 6 support, because they have removed this remove the sheen for global object, so we have to make sure it is there. So just copy the script and inside the index.html, paste it within the body tag. Okay, otherwise you might not see this UI. Now, as the next step, we want to redirect users as soon as he's signed in. We want to redirect them to the home component. So in order to achieve that, let's go into our auth component and let's click on auth component.ts. Increase the font size a little bit. Okay. So here we can use the Amplify service and inject in our constructor. Amplify service is the type, and with Visual Studio Code it will directly import it when you click that, and I will add the router module as well from our router. So make sure you will add that as well. Now small problem with the path should be rectangular/router. Okay, so I have injected those two dependencies in the constructor, and within the constructor, let's say this dot amplify service, and we'll assign it to the injected service. We are going to subscribe to a particular event in amplify service. Now this event is called auth state change. So whenever the auth state change, please invoke this method. So I'm going to subscribe to this auth change event, and where I will get the auth state. Okay, and I will just check if the auth state is equal to signed in. Make sure that this is the signed in event, and if so, redirect the user to the home route. Auth state, but state. Right. So we make sure it's the signed in event. If it is so, navigate or redirect him to the home route. So let's test that, shall we? Okay, I will go to the browser. Now let's, yeah. First of all, before signing, we have to click sign up and register a user. I will type a password and email address. Sign up. So when you sign up, Cognito will send you an email into this email address. Well, use your own email, otherwise I will get a lot of email. Anyway, this is my spam account. So I should receive an email with the code. So now you see guys, we don't have to implement any of these. It's all handled by Cognito. Okay, now I received the email and let's type in the username I've given and the code and confirm it. So once you confirm, it will create that user. Not sure? So let's go back to our user pool and refresh it. Then you'll see the user here. Great. So now I can log in. Let me type in the password and sign in. When you sign in, I have subscribed to the sign in event and redirect him to the home route. Awesome. And let's add a couple of other functionalities. I want to make sure that home route is inaccessible or not accessible unless the user is signed in. In order to do that, we have to guard our home component. So we need to add an auth guard. So let's create a service nggs auth guard and press enter. I'm not going to do that because I already created the service auth guard .service.ts and I copy pasted the code from GitHub. You guys please follow the same, otherwise this video is getting longer. And what it does basically is when activating a route, it will check in AWS Amplify if the user is currently logged in by using current authenticated user. If he's logged in, he's allowed to activate it. Otherwise, he'll be navigated back to the login page. Once you have added this AuthGuard service, make sure to go to routing modules and add that AuthGuard service in the home component like this. Right. One other thing, once the AuthGuard service is added, go to app.module.ts and add that as a provider. Simply type in AuthGuard service and import it, the file. Okay. Now that our home is guarded, we can simply check it by spinning up our application, AWS Mobile Run. One other thing that I have added to the home route, let me go into the home HTML. I will change the home HTML into saying greeting the logged in user, hi username, and then I have added a logged out action as well. So how did I get this username? Let me go to home component.ts file, and you can access all this information from Amplify library. So in constructor, you can simply get the currently logged in user, Amplify service or current authenticated user. Then you can simply access all the configuration, all the attributes of that particular user. Here I access the username, and that's what I have referred it in the HTML. Also, I have added the logged out action. So when the user click logged out, this particular method will be triggered.
So this is nothing but another AWS Amplify service, AWS Amplify service.auth.sign out. And after sign out, he'll be redirected back to the login page. All right, so let's wait until this is up and running. You can copy paste all this code from GitHub, like I previously mentioned, because we don't simply have time to code everything in a short YouTube video. Let's wait until it's done. I'm going to fast forward it. Okay, now this is our application. So let's log in. When you log in, it should redirect me to the home page. So in the home page, I have my username and the content and another logout button. If I log it out, it will log me out from the user pool and redirect me back to the login page. Okay, so that's it for this tutorial. So in the next video, let's see how can we use authorization to access our backend resources. So if you like my videos, please subscribe and share it with your friends. Thank you very much.